Okay, so welcome to this third week course on strategic performance management, and in this week we will be talking about that how we are going to measure performance, right. You remember in the past week we discussed about strategic alignment of performance management and see that how we need to go about aligning strategy with the performance management system, and this alignment has to take place at different levels, at the corporate level, at the business unit level, at the department level, and also at the individual level. So that the goals of the performance is achieved and it is congruent and consistent with each level, right. Similarly, you also remember we talked about how we discuss about setting the mission, vision, goals and objectives of the organization. So, once that process is complete and we are able to align performance management system with the strategy of the organization, then we move further to discuss about how we are going to measure performance, and before that we talk about how we are going to measure performance, we have to discuss some of the issues related to performance, what are the various dimensions that we need to measure, what are the various approaches that we have we are going to use in measurement, and finally, we have to see that how we are going to adopt a measurement system. So, in this week probably we will be talking about all this. So, when we are going to discuss about performance dimensions, so we have to start discussing about how we define performance again, and then we will see that what are the various dimensions which could be used for measuring performance. Now, if you look at performance, you know that when we are going to measure performance, we include two things, that is his behavior, that how the person is doing his job, and also the result, what is the outcome of the employee's behavior. So, we are including mostly behavior and results, which includes processes and also the outcome of the employees, right. So, when you are going to define performance, you should keep in mind that probably we are looking into these two things when we are trying to measure the performance, that is the behavior of the employees, what he does or he does not, and then we are also equally concerned about the outcome, what he is going to produce out of his work. So, whatever he does is known as the process, and whatever the outcome is or whatever he is producing is going to be the outcome of the work. Now, if you look at the behavior, which is also a part of the performance, because behavior and results cannot be segregated, because without behavior you cannot expect results. Okay. So, if you look at behavior, we basically are going to evaluate the behavior of the employee using certain evaluative forms, like whether the behavior is positive. If it is a positive behavior, then it is going to contribute to the performance. If it is a negative behavior, it might be counterproductive, right. If it is neutral, then it may not be related to the performance at all. Now, we are going to measure behavior in evaluative terms. So, there it is behavior or results both, right, including performance. Now, when we are talking about this behavior could be multidimensional. Multidimensional in the sense that you are not going to simply perform just one kind of behavior, but you are going to perform a number of behaviors, right. And if you are going to perform different kind of behaviors, not only related to your job, but like helping others, okay, having good relationship with people, right, being multitasked. So, whatever behavior you are using, basically it helps you to see that you are able to achieve your goal and also contribute to the organizational goal. But if you are not going to perform different kind of behavior, if the behavior is not multidimensional in nature, then probably it is not going to help you to perform well. So, the idea here is that you are going to evaluate the behavior, the extent to which it is able to give results in terms of performance, right, and if you are making positive behavior, then it is good, otherwise not, and then what are the different kind of behavior that you are making. Now, we have to come to this conclusion that there are two kind of things that need to be measured, that is behavior and results. Now, can we measure these behaviors and results, what the person does, right? Results can be measured, right, because that is more objective and you can see that how much he has produced, what is his sales figures, right, what is his productivity in terms of units. So, the results can be measured, right, but behaviors are not always measurable. You can observe them happening in the organization that he is performing certain tasks, right. But if he does not perform those tasks, probably he will not be able to produce the results. Okay. So, it is not necessary that all behaviors can be measured and observed. He might be doing certain things, he might be thinking about it. So, thinking as a process cannot be measured. So, this is also a part of the behavior which cannot be measured by you, right. So, that is one thing about the behavior, that all behaviors are cannot be measured, okay, because you cannot observe them, like thinking processes, you are going to solve certain problems by using certain processing. So, that cannot be measured. Then coming to the third part, that what are the different kind of behaviors? Those behaviors which helps you to achieve your goals and objectives, not only yours, but also others. Like you are working with your colleagues, so helping them, okay. You are moving outside the unit to see that how it can be effective. You are sharing information, you are sharing resources, okay. You are developing good relationship, you are trying to build consensus in a group to ensure that team productivity goes up, right. And you also sometimes basically fight with the managers, not in a negative way, but in a more constructive manner to ensure that the results is achieved. So, when we are talking about behavior, there are two things that we need to look at, that we cannot measure all the behaviors, and you also need to include different kind of behaviors, like I am helping my colleagues, I am developing good relationship, I have a good team with which I am working, right. So, all this is also a part of behavior that is to be looked into. Okay. Similarly, the results are the consequences that you are achieving, right. They are basically telling you that yes, you have achieved something. So, behavior could be used as a proxy measure of results, because unless you make those behaviors, it is not possible for you to get results, right. For example, if you do not engage in any activity, then you cannot produce anything, right. So, engaging in activity, since it is not measured and whatever you have produced is the result. So, the result is measured in terms of the number of units, and whatever behaviors that you have made which cannot be observed could be a proxy measure of that particular result. Now, moving further, discussing about how we are going to determine performance, right. What are the things that helps you to engage in those behaviors which produces results? See, we are talking about behaviors in which you are engaging, right. Say for example, you are going to produce a solution in a program, right. So, you are going to write a program as a software analyst or a software engineer. What is your job? That you are going to write the code to ensure that the code is going to be written in such a way so that it is correct, it is meaningful, it makes sense, it is able to solve the problem of the client, right. So, you interact with the client, you get feedback from the client, you maintain good relationship with the client, but and you also write the code properly, right. So, two things you are doing here, you are engaging in certain behaviors and you are also producing solutions to the client. So, the solution that you have produced is the result, but the other things will be a part of your behavior, right. So, how this result is obtained, whatever you have done, it is based on how you have behaved, and it is dependent upon what you know, right, what is your knowledge and skill basis, whether you know about the goals and objectives, you know that how you are going to use them, right. And similarly, using that knowledge to process certain things. For example, if you are a good coder, so you are using the knowledge of coding, right, to write a program. So, writing a program is a process, right. Knowledge of coding technology or language is basically the knowledge part, right. So, what I am discussing here is declarative knowledge and procedural knowledge. So, the knowledge of coding system would be declarative knowledge for a software engineer, right. So, it is related to facts, figures, principles and objectives that you need to achieve, and procedural knowledge is that how you are going to achieve it, right, that is more important. So, it includes your cognitive, physical, perceptual, interpersonal, every kind of skills. So, all the procedures that is involved in interacting with the client, finding out, getting feedback from the client, working with the group, right, all this, and then using that knowledge, the coding knowledge to produce a program, all that become a part of procedural knowledge. And the next thing is motivation. Yes, you need to be motivated to do it, right. So, motivation is another important factor, because if you are not motivated, even if you are having the knowledge, you will not be able to do the job. So, motivation is very important. Now, when it comes to motivation, you have to see that how much effort you make, right. If you do not make an effort, if you are not motivated at all, then you are not going to make an effort. And what is the level of your effort? For example, whether you are going to put your best, I will just try to do it, right. So, simply being motivated is not enough, that yes, you say that okay, you want to work hard, but are you really putting hard work or not? Are you really putting an effort to ensure that the job is done, right. And if the job is not done, do you really persist? How much you persist? So, it is very important that you persist to ensure that the job is done. Okay. If you do not persist, then what will happen? You will not be able to complete the job. So, these three things are related to what you call the motivation factor. So, now if you look at it, when you are going to see the performance, okay, it has a multiplicative relationship. It means that performance is equal to your declarative knowledge, that is a knowledge and skill base, facts, principles and goals, right. Then your procedural knowledge or skill, how you are going to use that knowledge to perform the job, including your interpersonal relationships skills, right. And then your motivation, choice to perform, how much effort you make, and then whether really persisting on keep on doing on to ensure that the job is done, right. So, this is defined as declarative into procedural into motivation. Now, if you look at it, if any of the determinants had the 0 value, then what will happen? Then the performance would be 0, because 0 is multiplied by anything, then it becomes 0. So, ensure that all these three are present to certain extents. Okay, if it is not there, your performance is going to be effective. So, your performance basically depends upon these three factors. Now, how you can get good performance? If you look at those who have been performing very well, whether in the field of technology, whether in field of sports, whether in field of music, whether in field of even in organizations also, you will find that those who have been able to perform very well, they keep on practicing on a consistent basis to ensure that their performance is very good, right. See, for example, those who are getting gold medals in the field of sports, so their performance is excellent. How they achieve this performance? Because of consistent practice, deliberately doing practices consistently, so that they are able to achieve it, right. So, you try to improve yourself to the extent possible, to try to make it better and better. So, when you are performing, you are looking at it that okay, whether you are really performing well or not, what is happening to you. Suppose today you say that okay, you have reached to a particular level, say x, now next time you make more effort to ensure that your level is x plus 1, then next time you make sure that it is x plus 2, right. So, you consistently keep on performing well to ensure that you become a very good performer, right. So, once you have achieved to that level, right. For example, if a sportsman gets a silver medal in one game at the international level, then he will try to ensure that he is going to put in more performance, more effort to ensure that he gets a gold medal in the next time, right. So, once you have reached to a particular goal, you get the feedback from expert sources, then you try to do more and more, better and better, and that is how you are able to perform very well, right. So, you have a mental model, you have a framework about your job, the context in which you are operating and the kind of organization that you are working in. So, looking at these things, probably you are trying to perform very well, and that depends upon your deliberate practice. It means intensely you keep on doing and improving your performance very well. Okay. And this if you look at figure 1 this step 1 to 4, you keep on continuously repeating it to ensure that you achieve highest level of success. Now, we talked about what determines performance and these kind of things, and then we will also see to it that what are the implications of addressing performance problems. Now, when we are going to see that people are not able to perform well, then it means that there is a problem. Okay. Now, once managers are giving feedback and try to see that this person is not able to perform well, so it means that there are certain problems, and these problems could be related to their knowledge and skill base, that is declarative. Procedural knowledge, it means that they do not know how to perform, right, or the third issue is that they are not interested or motivated enough to perform well, or some combination of these factors may be presented, right. So, when you are going to diagnose reasons for poor performance, you need to look at these three factors to start with, right. So, you also need to see that when you are going to have a good performance management system, in order to measure performance, you also ensure that there is a feedback system to find out what is the source of deficiency in the performance. Because if you are not able to identify deficiency, you cannot think about improving the performance. So, you should be able to identify through feedback or other processes to find out what is missing from the people, whether it is knowledge or skill or motivation. Now, see what are the things that are going to affect this. Okay. Now, even if these three things are present, there are certain factors which is going to affect it, like the knowledge and skill of the person. For example, the people who are performing a job and this performance depends upon their knowledge and skill, their experience in these kind of things, right. Then the second factor that is important is that HR practices. What kind of HR systems are there, whether performance is linked with the reward or not, whether the performance is linked with the career growth or not, right, and the kind of environment in which you are working, what kind of cultural climate exists in the organization, that is very, very important. If you find that yes, top management is supportive, your line managers or supervisors are very good, they are providing all the help and they coordinate with you, you have a good interpersonal relationship at work, right. So, if this kind of environment exists, then your performance is going to be good, otherwise not, right. So, you need to ensure that not only people have their knowledge and skill to perform well, but it is supported by the HR systems, like it need to be linked with the reward and career growth of the individual, and make sure that the conducive work environment is there, positive work climate is there, so that people are able to perform well, right. So, these things are very, very important. If these things are not there, then the people will not be able to perform well. In addition to what we have discussed about knowledge, skill and the motivation. Even if knowledge, skill and motivation is there, HR systems does not support, or there is not a supportive climate in the organization, probably the performance is going to be affected, right. So, to start with, you have to identify two sets of things. One is this procedural declarative and motivation, and also they also need to identify whether the HR practices exist, good HR practices exist to support them, and whether the climate is supporting them or not, right. So, we have discussed about determinants and factors affecting the performance. Now, coming to the performance, you remember we talked about performance of behavior that is multidimensional in nature, right. It means that performance depends upon a number of behaviors, not just one, right. So, we have to see that what are the different kind of behaviors are important, especially related to performance, right. So, in this lecture probably we are going to focus on these two things, that is what are the different kind of behaviors, right, which relate with performance. Now, when we are talking about these two type of behaviors are the facets of performance, it include task performance and contextual performance. Now, when I am talking about task performance, basically it is related to what you are going to do, and contextual performance talks about the context in which you are going to perform. So, what we are going to discuss here is both the task performance and contextual performance. So, task performance may be producing a result, though we will discuss it in detail, and contextual performance like helping others, right, having a good relationship, supportive climate, all this is an example of what you call a contextual performance. So, when you are going to consider performance, you need to consider both the task and the context related to performance, because both of them are going to determine how well you are going to perform. Even the task performance is supportive and contextual performance is not supportive, then you will not be able to perform your job very well. So, we need to understand whether these two factors are present or not. Now, as it is clear to you that task performance depends upon what you produce as an individual or as a department or as an organization. Okay. So, if you look at task performance, what you do basically? You engage in some kind of conversion process where you try to transform various inputs into products or services, right. So, you are engaging in the conversion process or what you call the transformation process, right. If you look at the systems approach of the organization, what happens? You have a set of inputs like man, machine, raw material, right, these kind of things. Now, these inputs are going to be used in order to transform them into goods and services, right. So, during this transformation process you are engaged in different kind of activities, right, like producing, like checking the quality, or different kind of activities that is related to the production or providing the service to, right. So, you are going to be a part of this process, transformation process. So, any activity which is going to help you with this transformation process, right, is related to your task performance. For example, planning, coordinating, scheduling, right. All these activities that you do as a part of the transformation process would be known as the task performance, right. Now, look at the contextual performance. What does it mean to say contextual performance, right. So, when I am going to talk about contextual performance, it is equally important, because that is going to contribute to the performance of the individual and which makes organization effective, right. It means we are talking about those factors which are not related to task, but they support the performance of the task. Remember we talked about good HR practices, right. So, how good HR practices is going to act as a context, right, because if you are having good HR systems and practices, people will be happy and satisfied with that, and they will engage themselves more in activities. So, if they know that they are going to be rewarded out of it, they will be happy, right. They know that there is a good supportive climate, there is a good relationship at the workplace, they have career opportunities. Okay. So, this kind of context is going to help you to produce better performance. So, your task performance depends upon the context, right. So, what actually happens if the context is positive, right, then you are really motivated, you exert extra effort like helping other people, right, doing beyond the time hours, right. So, all this depends upon contextual performance. So, relate to the context. Not only that, even you try to help out other people also in the process, right, to make sure that the organization progresses well, it performs well, you give feedback to other people, you give constructive suggestions, right, to ensure that improvements happen, right. Similarly, you try to help out other people, okay. That is what we know as citizenship behavior of the employees, right. So, you are engaged in organizational citizenship behavior, you are pro-social in your approach, you try to help other people, and you also try to follow the norms and value system of the organization and ensure that you follow all the rules and regulations which is meant for effective performance. So, if you follow everything, you try to help people, okay, you are motivated enough, okay, you are not only carrying your activities, but also helping out others, right, and supporting other things. So, in that case what happens? This provides you a context to perform well, and this contextual performance is very important, because if this context is not available, it will not be able to contribute to performance. So, if you look at the major difference between task performance and contextual performance, task performance varies across job. It means that everybody's task is different in the organization, right, and it is role prescribed. It means that everyone has a specific job description, that is the task, duties and responsibilities which is going to perform, right. And what are the antecedents for performing them? His knowledge and skill base, right. So, task performance depends upon knowledge and skill, it depends upon the job that you are going to do, right, based upon the job description. While contextual performance, it does not vary across job. HR practices, good working environment, helping others, what we have been talking about as a contextual performance. So, it is going to similar across different kind of jobs, okay, and it is not role prescribed, means that it is not a part of the job description. So, what is the antecedent? What are the factors which influence this? Is the personality, what kind of individual you are, your personality, your skill, your relationship, right, your motivation. So, all this is related to what you call contextual performance. So, we are able to differentiate between the task performance and contextual performance. Now, why we are going to include both task performance as contextual performance in a performance management system? It is very important. See, when we are talking about task and contextual performance in performance management system, the idea is that contextual performance dimension is going to contribute to task performance, right. So, if you are only doing your job, probably will not be very successful. Okay. So, a performance management system has to include not only the task performance are based on your duties and responsibilities, but they also need to consider the context or the environment or the situation in which you are going to perform a job. Because this contextual performance is going to either facilitate or hinder effective performance. So, it is very very important to look into these task factors as well as contextual factors. In fact, contextual factor is more important, because you know that if you before you prescribe a job to individual, you look for a better job fit, you know that the person has the skill to perform the job, right. Because if the person does not have the necessary skill, he will not be able to perform the job. So, task performance is more or less okay, because you are selecting an individual based upon his knowledge and skill, and you know that this person is able to perform his job very well, right. But now the question is that what about contextual performance? In what way context is going to influence the performance? Say for as individual, if I am really motivated, I have all the knowledge and skill to perform my job well, but I am not getting the necessary support, direction and help from my supervisor, what will happen? It is not going to affect my performance. No, it is going to affect my performance, because this supportive relationship and a good culture and climate in the organization and a supportive HR practice will make a lot of difference, right. And since you are aiming at high performance, it is very very important to ensure that these kind of things are available, but because you are going to compete in a global market, right. So, simply doing your job is not enough, but you need to ensure that it is not only your performance which happens or is well, but it is the performance of the organization which is going to be very good, and in the process you are not going to look at your performance, but other performance. So, you have to support others, you are going to help others, you need to ensure that everybody performs well in the organization, because of the competitive environment. Okay. And you also need to ensure that you are able to provide better quality services at a speed that is desirable. So, your response of the speed, your delivery of the services, your quality of the services, customer must be good. It is possible only when you have a contextual performance, or you have a contextual environment which is supportive, right. And in the process, if you are moving away from working individually to working in a team. So, for team working also, you know, the context is very environment. If that environment of the team is not good, it is not supportive, if people are not cooperating and helping and supporting and having trust on each other, probably it is not going to happen, right. Another important thing is that how employees look at performance management system. They think that it is effective, it is transparent, it is fair enough, it is linked with the reward, right. Probably then they would support these kind of things, right. And how what is the view of the supervisor? He is also supporting, providing all kind of direction, help and support. If it is there, then we can say that yes, it is good, otherwise not, because there could be cultural differences, how performance is viewed in different cultures. Okay. So, you need to consider the culture of the nation where the organization is working, because depending upon the culture of the organization is going to depend upon the broader national cultural context, right. For example, if you are going to work in UK and if you are going to work in India, that makes a difference, right. The culture of these two places are different, how the work is perceived by the people of these two countries are going to be different. So, the cultural context must be kept in mind. So, when I am talking about contextual performance, it talks about social cultural context, it talks about the global context, it talks about the customer context, right. So, all these contexts are very very important, and that has to be kept in mind while you are thinking about looking at both task performance as well as contextual performance. Now, coming to the bias behavior, that is very very important. Bias behavior means that do you really allow employees to express their concern, right. What happens if you are having a good context, a good environment, a supportive climate that suggests that you allow employees to express their concern. They are able to voice their concern, they are able to voice their grievances in a very constructive way to ensure that how the goals can be achieved. And it all depends upon the kind of culture and climate you have. If you have a very good constructive climate, right, supportive culture, probably employees are able to express their concern, they would provide constructive feedback, to improve rather than only criticizing. And if you are not having, probably employees will either criticize or will they try to maintain status quo. They will not say anything, they will keep on doing their job, and probably it is not going to help the organization to produce better results, right. So, ensure that employees are allowed to express their opinion, are able to express their concern related to performance. So, this kind of constructive feedback must be obtained from the employees, and it is possible only when you have a good supportive climate, right. And based on these kind of contextual performance, probably you will be able to make a difference. So, what actually in this lecture I wanted to tell you that the task performance actually depends upon contextual performance. So, if you are not able to take care of the contextual performance, probably you cannot expect better task performance, because the performance of the organization as such not only depends upon the task, but the environment in which it is working. So, the recommendations for the managers are that please ensure that you have a good supportive climate, good HR systems, favorable conditions, support from the top management, right. Make sure that employees are able to express their concern. So, if these things are available, probably the employees would be able to produce better results. Thank you very much.